Hello, my name is Irfan Sonawala. This is the series of videos I'm starting to cover. What does it mean to be a Muslim now? We can find religious clerics and or even common laymen on YouTube and in regular discussions answering this question with quite some certainty. As ambiguously the question I have asked, the answer to it is most often very concrete. The certainty is enforced by the belief, as if it is the function of the belief to pose it as truth with that certainty. With their belief, they respond with the alternate question: who is not a Muslim? This question then became a question of ideology and identity. And the question of what does it being a Muslim mean is hijacked by them, and they respond: who is a Muslim versus who is not? The hijacked questions take them to only one path of ideology and identity, and that is whoever practices or believes in Islam. It seems quite valid and legitimate response to all, except there is one problem. In this response of believing and practicing in Islam, Islam gets concretized throughout the history, assuming as if Islam is a unified, complete product given some 1400 years ago, and since then it has stayed the same. And any good historian of Islamic studies or an anthropologist will debunk this assumption. There's anyone who says Islam is whatever comes after has not only an anachronistic position, that is, being historically erroneous, but also purely ideological, as it assumes Islam as a singular, complete product that is unchanged throughout the history. Instead, I recommend that the relevant question for the Muslims of our time can't be who is a Muslim versus who is not. Rather, what does being a Muslim mean? This is a real question of knowledge and not merely a question of identity. It goes beyond identifying characteristics of a Muslim, like what Muslims should look like, instead figuring out the act of being a Muslim. It searches the rules of engagement to being a Muslim and not mere identity. The action of being a Muslim, like becoming a Muslim, in the very act of asking the question and, of course, responding to it. One may not find any difference in the act of becoming a Muslim and a Muslim identity, as both these notions go back to the past in the time of Prophet Muhammad. But that is not true. When we ask what does being a Muslim mean, we move the meaning of being a Muslim and act of becoming a Muslim into the present time. The first person acting on it, that's what we are trying to achieve. As the act and meaning of being a Muslim relates to the one in first person and at the time of action and reflection. This is precisely what being a Muslim initiates from. Shahada. When we say Ashhadu, it is the first person's act of witnessing in the present time. And that is what stands about Islam. It doesn't start from God, prophets, or angels. It begins from the first person's act of witnessing in the present time. What does that witnessing mean? Probably can be covered in another video. I would like to one day. Here is the most important part is the act of not merely being a Muslim, rather acting of becoming a Muslim. The act of engagement puts responsibility on the person to behave and act as if he is a Muslim, and not merely assuming to have a Muslim identity regardless what his actions are. The identity is merely one's assumption of who he is and disconnects his actions from it. This idea is in conjunction with the Quran as well. Quran doesn't say Ya Muslimun or Ya Mu'minun, meaning O Muslims or O believers. Rather it says Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O those people who believe. Believe in this is used as a verb, that is, as an act. The act of becoming a Muslim and asking what it means to be a Muslim completely nullifies this assumption of identity. It nullifies that there is one true nature or identity of a person instantly taking place just because he believes in something that has happened or given in the past around 1400 years ago. And what does that believing in it mean? This is the problem with the understanding of the English word belief. Belief considering something, either a story or a person or myth or symbolic character, as if those are historically factual. That's what belief means generally when we speak in right now um, in our regular discussions. It is this assumption of factuality that the English word belief in the modern sense connotes. The most sane thinking intellectual mind can't accept it. And they end up denying anything and everything that relates to what traditionally being a Muslim mean actually. So what they deny is not merely its factuality, which they are right to do so, but they also deny its usefulness in the present time. They deny its usefulness only because they can't see the relevance of being a Muslim in their life. And I get that. I completely understand it. They can't see the relevance of being a Muslim just because they are tying it to the question of who is a Muslim. And that is the reason I have created this series on the question, what does it mean to be a Muslim in the act of becoming one?